So, first of all, I just want to thank Candy, and I want to thank everyone for coming out and spending this evening with us. So, I'm going to read from you an excerpt from one of the chapters in my book called Leave No One Behind. So basically, it's a novel, as Candy said, it spans 4 continents and 100 years, and the themes are basically about family dynamics, themes of loss and loneliness, emotional. When I say leave behind the title of the novel, actually I'm talking about the spiritual, emotional and sometimes physical effects of leaving people behind in your own family, in your friendships, in your networks. So the novel has multiple characters, multiple storylines, but they all connect together because they are all or become family, and sometimes there's friends involved. So it spans Canada, India, Pakistan, England, and the Fiji Islands. The Fiji Islands is because where my parents are from. So as a child of immigrants born in the UK, I'm extremely familiar with the concept of how immigration can affect your psyche, how it changes you as a person, how it changes your upbringing, and how it affects your dynamics, not only with your family, but also with the greater community as well. So, now this story called Hannah and the Exhibition, this is about a girl who is a German girl who is abandoned by a Pakistani farmer when she's not even born. So she has basically never seen her father. And so this is the story. So this particular chapter here, this is condensed down from 4,000 words. So a lot has been taken out, it's been cut down to 1,000 words. So, a lot of detail has been kind of taken away. And this is the scene where her boyfriend finds out about her father that she's never seen. Berlin, 2016. The exhibition was at the Kreuzberg Gallery in Berlin. The gallery was one of the best in the city, with its permanent collection of work produced by Berlin artists since 1870, some expressionism and Dada, some rare art of the Nazi era, and a fine collection from the German position movement of the 1950s. But they were gone this month as the gallery put on its newest show, a one-month event called Das Punk, photos and art from the Berlin punk and new wave of the 1980s. The gallery had dedicated the main space to Hannah's mother, the celebrated photographer Andrea Hoffman. Her photographs from the 1980s was to be the centerpiece of the exhibition. Andy was ill that week, so Hannah had spent time with the curators on how best to show her mother's work. Every now and again, she had emailed pictures to Andrea to show her the exhibition and how it would look in computer-generated renders. Her mother would phone back intermittently, complaining and giving her instructions between hacking, wheezing coughs on how she wanted things to look. Hannah would send her pictures from the patient gallery designer again and again until her mother was grudgingly agreeable. After they had finished hanging the pictures that day, only the 2 of them remained in the gallery, Hannah and her boyfriend Honari. Honari was from Senegal. He was dark, with a soft, almost sad face, long-cheeked, with a small goatee. The round black glasses made him look like a young Spike Lee. He smiled at Hannah, eyes wide and large dimpled cheeks pulled right back. Honari whistled gently in admiration as he looked at the photographs they had placed on the wall. "Wow, so beautiful," he exclaimed. Hannah nodded. Yes, her mother's photos were extraordinary, she thought, all of them. Berlin in the 1980s by night. Its punks, the new romantics, the bands, the singers, the hangers-on, the street people, the clubbers, the transvestites, the prostitutes, the drug dealers, the pimps, and the gawkers. All as resplendent as peacocks, shot on a fast, high-grain metallic film on her mother's precious old Leica. Honari kept looking at the same section of pictures. Photos of Andrea, much younger then, and with a striking-looking man in his 20s. Very light-skinned, but not a German. or a Turk, perhaps an Arab, dark-haired, always in the same black leather jacket. A singer or model, perhaps, Hanari thought. The two of them, Hannah's mother and the man, photographed in the streets, together in nightclubs with other punks. Photos. What inside what looked like a man's washroom, backs to the camera, their heads turned over their shoulders, as if they had been caught in some sordid act. Another picture of them together, this one shot from above in a nightclub, people dancing, only the man and Andrea looking directly into the camera. More images, tungsten clubbers on a fire escape, and in dingy, low-ceilinged spaces with bare light bulbs hanging. In the changing rooms of bands, perhaps, everyone grinning at the camera. Some of the pictures were overexposed with a blow of action, as if either the camera or the subject had moved suddenly, always with Andrea's grey eyes, oval face, and almost translucent pale skin, and the man's dark eyes like gun barrels, razor-sharp cheekbones, his face a perfect feline V. Your mother was very beautiful, and the man with her, always. He is also good-looking, Hanari remarked. Who is he? Your mother's boyfriend at the time, perhaps? No, that man is my father, the one I have never met, Hannah said simply. His name is Mohammed Pervez. They shared an apartment in the Koningsgrad district. The area was once Turkish and poor German, but now is mostly North American and Middle Eastern immigrants and refugees. Hanari was Muslim and spoke perfect French and Arabic, so felt comfortable in the neighborhood. He had made them supper that evening, a Senegalese-style stew of chicken, okra, hot peppers and kidney beans with rice. He had also washed the dishes. Now he lay down on the couch, feet up and settling himself with more cushions behind his neck. He watched Hannah make coffee. He liked to observe her. She was tall with an almost tubular, thin body, pale white skin, dark brown hair, framed a long oval face and piercing grey eyes like a winter wolf. Yes, a face very much like her father, the man in the photos in the gallery today, Hanari thought. Hannah came to lay with him on the sofa, as was her usual habit. She put the coffees down. Hanari could not resist it, the far getting intrigued in too much. When they had first met, Hannah had said simply that she had no father and refused to talk about him. You have not met your father ever? He asked delicately, stroking her face. Hannah sighed. She adjusted herself so she lay on his chest. There was a long pause. No, he was gone before I was born, back to Pakistan. My mother won't talk about him. She hates him. And you have not wished to meet him? Hannah did not answer, her eyes closed, a hand resting on his stomach, making circular motions. Hanari kissed her again. Her hair smelled faintly of stew. Hannah lifted coffee for them. He was never in my life, only my mother's. I know nothing about him. I never cared or thought about him. Hanari rose a little, took a sip and rested his coffee cup on the bookcase led behind the sofa. He gently pulled her to him. That is a shame. A father without children is like a tree without leaves, we say in Senegal, like a bush without flowers. Some of the photos today show much love between your parents. Such powerful pictures. No wonder your mother does not share them. Hands snuggled up against his chest and rested her head where he could hear his heart beating slowly. A faint gurgling. Hanari was right. The photos were amazing, she thought. The energy, the chemistry, and the child's sexual tension between their parents was palpable in every picture of them together. But Hannah had lied to Hanari. She used to obsess about her father when she was young, loving him for his exotic looks, endlessly going through the photos of him. And then as she grew older, hating him for abandoning her, constantly wondering about him, and threatening to finally live with him when she and her mother fought incessantly and horribly in her teens. Hanari stroked her hair again. Do you not wonder about him, your father? Hannah felt tiredness sweep through her and yawned. She turned to face him, grey eyes narrowed. My mother is dying of lung cancer, Hanari. The doctors say a year or less. I cannot worry about my father. She yawned again, kissing Hanari. Maybe I'll see him one day, and finally meet the sisters I have never seen. And then I'll ask him why he left us. Hannah slumped back down on Hanari's chest. Believe me, my love, it will not be pretty when I see him. Thank you very much.
Do you want to talk about your writing process?
Basically, I've come to writing pretty late in my life. I've always written, but it's mainly been for TV. And so TV scripts are just basically hand-drawn scribbles which make no sense to anyone because, it's not the form or the concept or the grammar which is important, it's just the words. So, script writing is a totally different art for TV compared to writing for literary writing. So it wasn't really too hard for me to make the adjustment because I've always worked in the visual medium. So when I'm writing, I'm always writing visually. I'm always thinking scene, I'm thinking characters, and I'm thinking plot. Those are the things that have always driven me, and I think should drive everyone in their writing anyway. So for me, how everything looks in a room, in a situation, in a setting, how the people talk, the dialogue, the actions, every single action, or most of the actions that they do in real life, I try and transmit that to the page. So in my writing, every time I do something, you'll hear me, I will describe the smell. In this case, it's the smell of the stew in Hannah's hair. You'll see me write description of character and situation and setting. So you've got to remember this is condensed from 4,000 words to 1,000 words just for this reading. So that's in terms of the process, I write rough drafts just overlong, like 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 words. I don't really care at that moment. I'm just writing. I just want to finish it. I just want to get it finished. So all I'm doing is just writing the chapter. And I write long, which has always been my problem. Right? So I'm always having problems with the editors and producers about, it's too long. But I'm used to that anyway. But then when I do the rough draft, then I go back to it and I start refining. So I just go back and start refining. So in my first novel, this novel, Leave No One Behind, it's about 20 or 30 drafts. So I will just keep going back over and over again. So that's the process. And it's taken me a year to write a novel. But I have written another one, but that's on the back burner, that's done. But this is the one I'm more focused on in terms of editing. So editing for me is at least a year, trying to get it to a finished situation where it's going to be sent out by the end of the year. So like Andy says, I'm working on my short story collection, but I'm doing that in the context of a workshop at SFU, so that's helping me. So every story you write, you have like 6 or 7 people plus your tutor going over the work, so you're getting input from 6 or 7 people every week on your story. So that way you can see where there's problems. If you have 3 or 4 people saying, oh well, no, it doesn't sound right, or that's not believable, that's not plausible, that's not working. So you know that, okay, then there's a fundamental problem there, so you've got to rectify it. And other times, someone will say, oh, that really works really like that, somebody may not like it. So you have to make the judgment call, really. So the process is long, but I love writing, I love fiction, and I could write all day if I had to, but I have a day job, so. But then again, I write fiction anyway, it's called government propaganda. So I write press releases for the government, and so that's even more time constraining and even more pressurized because you have to deliver 400 or 500 words in literally half an hour. Then it goes to 7 different people and it goes to lawyers to look over. So I'm really, the thing with me is I'm used to deadlines, and I'm used to writing every day, every single day as much as I try to. So deadlines, I think my journalistic training has given me an unfair advantage because I know how to finish. So if I start a chapter, I start a story, I know I have a beginning, middle and end, but I know how to finish, and I will always finish. So that, I think, gives me a bit of an unfair advantage on that front. So that's the writing process for me. Any question?
Yeah, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah. I think I'm curious. So spending all day writing these government, communications, then coming home and then trying to work on your novel. How do you change your brain or your artistic, your writing?
Well, I don't have to write. I mean, sometimes I might do one press release a day or two, but it's pretty intense, right? But then, I mean, for me, it's just a job. I mean, I'm not gonna, we have to switch off, and it's a good change for me because this is my stuff, and I don't have anyone overlooking my work or having it changed.
But do you do anything to switch it up, or do you just go on? You can leave it on.
No, I don't. I don't. As soon as I come home, sometimes I may write late in the evening or early in the morning. I work from home now, so it's much easier for me to do this now. So, but in terms of the change, it's not really. I mean, what's happening now, especially in answer to your question, is that before, like years before, we used to do like 400 or 500 word press releases. But now, with the advent of social media becoming so prominent, now we have younger people in the government, and they're sending tweets, and they're sending Facebook posts. So, the days of us doing the 400 word press release and sending out to the media, effectively, that's just going the way of, it's like a dinosaur way to do things. Now people are doing, MLAs and ministers I work with, they're sending out, we tell them, you have to send out a tweet, send out a tweet, put it on Facebook. So that's actually changing now, so it's becoming easier. What's happening is the message is going out to a broader range of people, not just the media, but it's going out to the general public. So, that's changing. And also, I mean, nowadays we're sending pictures with the tweets, we're sending infographic, the graphics, people are doing graphics and sending that out. So my job is actually changing now, so, I mean, when I first started at the BBC, just a comparison here, I joined when I was 19 years old. I was supposed to go to university, I didn't. I ended up in an internship in the summer. And they basically said to me, well, you can either go to university and train to do this, and you can spend 5-6 years, or you can spend a year with us and you will learn more in 5 years in 1 year. So I decided to stay. But I remember when we used to go out and do a segment, a TV segment, so it'd be myself as the researcher, cameraman, soundman, lighting guy, a producer, a director, PA, production assistant, and if you're in London, you have a driver. Sometimes you have to have an electrician. That's like 9 or 10 people. When I left 12 years later, 13 years later, it was down to me, a cameraman, and a soundman going out to do the same shoot. So it just shows you how technology has changed everything. And so the same thing is happening in all fields, I think, anywhere where electronic media has always been involved. So, yeah.
I want to ask you about your process in getting your material workshopped. You mentioned that you participate in the writer studios.
Yes, yeah.
So when you bring your material to a group where you're having a workshop, what do you look for in terms of what's going to be useful to you?
Okay. So this is my second workshop. I did one workshop in 2016 at the Writer's Studio. Now, basically, when I've done my stories and my chapters, I don't know if I'm new to writing, so I don't know if it's good or bad. What I'm looking for is not a validation that my writing is good. I want a validation of what works in my writing and what's not working in my writing. So so the best place to get that, I mean, you know, is from fellow writers, because if 6 people in the room are going to have, 6 people are going to have 6 different opinions about the story. So I want to know what you think worked. In a workshop critique, I want to know what you think works. And if you say you didn't like it, I want to know why. And if you say, oh well, I didn't like some things, I want to know why. Because then I can think about those things, mull them over. And sometimes I want to say, yeah. If 3 or 4 of you are saying, oh, that section doesn't work, then there's a problem there, because it's not just one person saying it, but then I've got to validate, I've got to examine and see what your comments are, you know. But if one person says, oh, I like that, but the other person says, no, I disagree, I think I don't really like that, you know, then I have to weigh that up. But what you're looking for is 6 people who are passionate about writing, which is why they're there. They pay money to be here, so this is not a joke for them, right? So, you know, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for critical feedback. But I found that it has actually helped me a lot in my writing, because what you're doing is you're taking 6 opinions, and then you're taking the opinion from your tutor as well, and you're writing all those notes, or they've written all the notes they've gone all over your manuscript, right? Whether it's 20 pages or 30 pages, and saying what they like about it, what they don't like about it, what works, what doesn't work. You know, so some people will literally, they will line edit your work, so they will go through every line and pick every spelling mistake, every typo, or every grammar, or every piece, right? Others, which are, like me, I don't do that. I think it's a waste of time. I'm not there to pick on your grammar. I'm there to see if your story has profluence, if the plot is working, if the characters are working, if the whole story is working as a whole. So I think that's where you can gain valuable feedback from workshops. One thing with some workshops, though, to bear in mind is sometimes the comments can be very personal. Sometimes it will seem as if a person does not like your work and be personal. Sometimes you can nail it down to the fact that they're not interested in your genre, and they don't have an open mind about your genre. If I don't like poetry, which I'm not a poetry guy at all, don't like poetry, but I don't understand it when it's on a written page. But in the last year or so, I've understood how to critique it now. I know what to look for, and I know what to do. You know, I know what I'm looking for now, and I know I'm much more comfortable critiquing poetry. I always like to hear it said, because then the author has a certain way, has a certain voice. So they're saying it the way they want to say it. So it means much more. But when you're reading it, it's not always easy to disseminate and kind of understand what you're trying to say, right? But with workshops, sometimes the criticism is coming from a place that because they don't understand genre, or they don't like somebody like Spora or Skyfire may not like, what you're doing. I write about relationships. I write about love. I write about these are the things that interest me. These are the things I'm more interested in as I've grown older. I'm not going to write about where I came from, which is a ghetto. I could. I'm not going to write about the drugs and the gangs and all the stuff that happened, all the stuff I grew up with. That's my background, but I'm going to stretch myself as a writer. I'm not, I can write about that, but I'm not going to. I choose to write more literary stuff. I want to write about emotions, family. I want about love. I want to write about love. That's more important. So workshops are good. And I think if you're serious about writing, then a workshop is really the way to go. Otherwise, you're writing in a vacuum, especially if you're a new writer and you're not a part of the community. You don't know if your stuff is good or bad. You can spend years and years on a manuscript. I'm not going to spend 10 years on this. I know people who spend 5, 6 years, 10 years writing the same thing, and they've still got nowhere. And I think that's because they're not either getting the proper feedback or not kind of going about it in the right way. Time is the most precious thing we have in this world. So if you're going to do a book, I think a year is reasonable. You can't do it in a month or 2 months. Right? So that's my opinion on workshops. They're an excellent idea if you're serious about writing. Yeah, but they do have limitations. If you get in a wrong workshop group, then you can get frustrated.
I was going to ask, I loved how you condensed it down. It didn't didn't feel condensed. It flowed really nicely, but I'm wondering if that's going to affect, if what you did to edit this to 1,000 words is going to affect your overall draft. Are you going to want to keep the shortened version or parts of it?
Yeah. That's an excellent question, Cynthia, because I have been thinking, because I'm doing a whole bunch of readings now, I'm doing readings, I don't like taking an excerpt and just reading you like a straight excerpt. I want to write something where it has a beginning and it has an end. In this case, you see the beginning and the end, all right? So, but at the same time, what that has actually done is actually sharpened my writing skills, because I thought, oh, well, actually, this was 4,000 words long in the chapter. It's a whole chapter, 4,000 words long, about the gallery, about the mother's relationship with the daughter, and there's a whole lot more stuff. But I'm thinking, wow, you know what? Writing is basically re-editing and re-editing. And, making stuff sharper and shorter is actually the way to go. I mean, I do it in my work anyway. So I think, I don't see myself taking out 4,000 words and putting this in. But I definitely see myself going back, because I have exactly how I want it. I think I like it how it is. But I think an editor will come in and say, well, you don't need this, you don't need this. An editor's going to just go through and say, you don't need this, so I may lose 1,000 words out of it. That's fine. If it sharpens it, it makes it better. I'm not precious about killing my babies. If an editor or somebody says, oh, it's not working, fine, I can see if you're right, if I think you're right. So in answer to your question, I mean, condensing is actually helping me in my writing a lot, because now I'm going back and thinking, well, if I needed to make that thing shorter, I know where to cut now. I know where to cut. So yes.
I asked that because I have the 10-minute prologue in my book, and I had a 3-minute slot in the Writers' Festival, and I shortened it, and my 3-minute version is so much better than my book, and I need the maturity. I want to confront the writers who have maturity to read it. And it made me want to kind of rewrite my book, because if I can tell the story in 3 minutes, why am I telling it in 10 to 12? But at the same time, you can't rewrite everything.
Yes,
and it changes the whole pace, right? It changes the pace of the whole story.
Yeah.
If it's going at a different pace. But anyway, I found it really interesting that you're able to get 4,000 words into 1,000 in a way that flows really smoothly.
It's
impressive.
It took a couple of days, going back and forth to it. I think I estimate maybe 2 hours tops in trying to get it down to 1,000 words. But there's so much fantastic detail and stuff I wanted to keep, but you can't. I've only got 10 minutes. For me, 10 minutes actually means 7 or 8 minutes, because I'm going to do the prologue, the preamble and everything, right? So I don't want to, intrude on anyone else's time and cut into another author. That's bad form, right? So sometimes you have to, but if you can't cut down a story, I was going to bring another story to read in here today, but I couldn't get it done in time, right? And so I thought, well, I'm going to go for this one. But I think there's some stories you can't cut. The feeling in this, everyone, in the workshop, I was told this is very sparse. It's like this room, it's a very cold, kind of slightly sterile piece, because the person is a bit cold, right? It's not a warm, loving, it's a cold piece. It's kind of cold. It's just in the gallery, right? So straight away, you think, well, it's a bit like this. So it was easier to cut, but other stories are much harder to cut, because the characters are much deeper, the relationships and the dialogue is much deeper. Here, there isn't a lot of dialogue, so it's easy to cut. So I cut description, I cut settings, and I cut scenes. But I try to keep, like I said, the essence of the story, which is, discovery that the boyfriend discovers. Now we know what the girl feels about the father, right? That she hates him on one hand, but she still does have, curiosity.
So did you want to talk about something else not related to writing?
I don't know what to talk about really. I mean, for me, my writing life is very important to me. It's, I've been through a lot in my life, and the family dynamics have not been great. So it's something I wanted to explore. I wanted to explore how families have problems and issues, and how we can resolve those by talking to each other, by showing each other love, by forgiving, and in some cases, maybe not forgiving or not communicating at the right time, but finding the time to actually repair damage which has been done. You know, so the title "Leave It Behind," leave no one behind. You know, actually, it's a military term used by the American Army, Marines, when there's any wars or anything going on. They always have this motto that we leave no one behind. That means if somebody's dying, like soldiers dying, you will sacrifice yourself, but you will not leave them behind. And it's the same thing like if an American Marine is shot and the body's lying there, you will go back and retrieve the body at the same, you know, you will not leave anyone behind. So I wanted to that's such a powerful statement for me when referring to my own extended family, that look, you know, the people in the characters in the novels do not leave anyone behind. Right? Things may have happened, but in the end, they don't leave anybody behind. Like what happens here is eventually the father, who hasn't seen her for 30 years, does come and see her and tries to make it up with her. And she just tells him, look, you just fuck off, basically, you're not interested. I never want to hear again from you. Then he goes back to Canada, and then it's his daughters who find out. He tells his daughters and his wife, I have a secret daughter. Right? And then they're the ones who actually say, well, where is she? I want to find out about her. And they're the ones who talk to her and, you know, and bring her over, and so they reconcile. So, you know, leave no one behind. That's what it comes down to. You know, all the characters, all the stories are all about that central issue, which is important to me. You know, I'm sorry, I should have talked about something else, but really, yeah. So it's catharsis, really. You know, I mean, it's more how I would like my family and every family to be. You know, it doesn't matter if you're, you know, like one of the characters is, you know, she turns out to be gay, and she's from a Muslim family. Well, that's a no-no. And the father has a choice. He can either just say, well, you're excommunicated, I will throw you out of his family, never want to see you again. But then his wife says to him, is that what you're going to do? Is that how you want to be remembered? Is that how you want to go down in your family? Is that like the man who threw his daughter out? Can you not, you know? So once again, he, you know, goes against, he's an imam, right? He's that old man. He goes against all the wishes of his family and his community. And says, you know what, you are my daughter. You know, I don't care what people say, you're still my daughter, no matter who you are, what you choose to do. So, you know, these are the fundamental, you know, issues that, you know, that I'm talking about.
Great. Does anybody have any other questions for Veeno? All right, great.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.